Hey, Joyce here. Today I want to do a video on managing a creative idealist. Like with all the other profiles, when I'm managing a creative idealist or more than one creative idealist on my team, I'm looking at what motivates them. So the biggest thing that motivates a creative idealist is ideas, innovation, the coolest way to do something, something unique. They're not as motivated by money and usually aren't that great about asking for what they're worth. The other thing that they're very motivated by, they tend to be like quirky and have these quirky senses of humor. And so motivation might be the wrong word. A great way to work with them is to bring humor into the situation, or they will. And just appreciate their humor, even if you don't get it, because it tends to be a little quirky. They enjoy having humor and lightness in conversation. So what are they good at? Creative idealists are going to give you the most brilliant ideas to your problems, to solutions. If you know, whether it's software development, whether it's some sort of engineering or science, anything like that, they're going to come up with these unbelievable creative ideas. So when you're working with them, you need to give them some time. It's not like a knowledgeable achiever where you go off and you say, okay, give me these 4 things, and they come back the next day. So make sure you give them plenty of time, because they'll go away and they'll think and think and think and think, and then they'll come back with something great, but it takes more time typically to percolate. So you may want to give them a project and say, okay, I need some ideas in a week, rather than I need some ideas by 2 o'clock this afternoon. Like, give them the freedom and the time and the headspace to be innovative. It's really important for them, and it calms them down too. If you put them under too much pressure, they have a lot of fear, and so then their brains freeze up. Whereas if they have plenty of time, you're going to get the best out of them and be able to work with their strengths. What are they weak at? They have so many ideas. So there can be analysis paralysis. They have so many ideas they can't get anything implemented. So a great way to handle that is you pair them up with a knowledgeable achiever. Or another thing you can do is, so they have all the great ideas and the knowledgeable achiever knows how to understand them and implement them. That's a great combination, CI and KA, especially if they have respect for one another and which role each one of them plays. Another thing is, if you're having trouble getting them to implement, you may also ask, well, what is a creative way for us to implement this? So you're grounding them and you're getting them to focus on the implementation, but allowing them to bring in their creativeness as well. No-nos with creative idealists. Never be aggressive. They're very fear-based. Don't be aggressive. Yelling at them, they're just gonna dissociate. You have to be a little bit gentler with them in order to work with them in a way that they're going to be the most productive. They're brilliant. They have their ways. And another no-no is, if they won't make eye contact with you, or if they seem like they're going off on a tangent, just allow that to happen. Keep in mind, this is their creative process, and it may seem unproductive to you in the moment, but allow that to happen. Let them say all their crazy ideas, and then bring them back to the moment by asking them questions. So you may not understand half of what they're talking about, but if you start to ask questions, then you can pull the threads and pull together an idea that you might be able to implement. The next thing is blends. Creative idealists, that could be their primary profile, but they could have a secondary profile. And it's really tricky with a creative idealist because their main relationship is with their thoughts. So when they have another profile, like a charismatic leader, sometimes the charismatic leader is judging the creative idealist portion of them, and the creative idealist is afraid of the charismatic leader portion. It's a weird profile when you start to get into the blends. But if you see both kinds of characteristics, watch both videos and then use whatever works in that moment. If they're presenting as a creative idealist, you use those kind of motivations and those kind of tools. If they're presenting as a charismatic leader, then you may have to treat them differently in certain situations. The blends get a little funny. What if they're in the wrong role? There are a lot of roles that creative idealists should not do. Um, if you need to get anything done timely, if you need, focus, they're creators, they're scientists, they're artists, they're musicians. So there are a lot of roles that they won't be good at, and if they're not in the right role, try to at least get some of what motivates them into the role, or pair them up with someone. Usually you have to pair them up with someone in order to ground them into the moment to get things done. Their work environment typically is a little different. They may be into conspiracy theory, they may be into art or music. Creative idealists in software developers, for example, are phenomenal musicians, or can be phenomenal musicians. I guess that's how the brain works. It's a similar type thing. So they may have all kinds of different artistic things, or music, or so their work environment might be very messy and be just all over the place. So my suggestion, just let it be. It is what it is. And you may want to make sure that they're not in a busy section of the office, that they have plenty of quiet so that they can think and be able to create. And then finally, examples. So if you go on the website, there's different examples of stories where I implement these concepts into very specific situations. Like a creative idealist who was in the wrong role, I had them in a role that really was meant for a charismatic leader or a knowledgeable achiever. So watch those, because that's how you can see how these things get implemented. But if you go onto the website and you don't see a story that relates to a problem that you're having, please let us know. Please send it in. What is bugging you most? And we will try to create, either point you to a video that we have already done, or we'll try to do a video to help you meet the specific need that you have. Or I'm a business-to-business kind of model. I'm in B2B. I don't work in retail, for example. So if you have a retail problem, I may bring in one of my peers and my colleagues who use the profiles in retail to give you some insight into how you can solve a particular problem. So please let us know what is bugging you most.